Thank you for joining us for our Spooktober 2021 review. There will be a lot of spoilers for the following.
So, my sweet darling gentlemen, it's time to talk about Kieran's Spooktober picks.
Oh, this is easy.
Our first pick with Kieran was Cooties.
Joe, quiet, please.
Rebecca, please.
Sure, Joe, you're the one who has the most experience with the disease-ridden things. Children are the enemy. Beware their slime. Would you like to give a breakdown of it?
It's a movie, a comedy of some sort where children get infected by chicken nuggets and turned into cannibalistic zombies that want to eat their teachers. Oh, I forgot it started with chicken nuggets.
Oh, yeah. You forgot.
Oh, yeah.
You picked this. You picked this.
God damn it. Fucking pink
Chickens are the
slime.
enemy. Birds are the enemy. What a shock. What a surprise for Phildo.
Lord of the Rings got nothing on this. Rainn Wilson was great, but, he's great in almost anything. I don't know who played the science teacher, but he was probably my favorite character because he was just...
I believe he was the writer of the movie, which kind of is not surprising considering like how integral his character became after a bit in the movie.
Not as integral as Rainn Wilson, though.
Oh, but his character had the majority of like postulating towards the plot.
The exposition.
Yeah, he was essentially the expositional character.
But I don't mind that because he was hysterical and kind of incompetent at the same time, and it was ingenious.
Yeah, his character is kind of like the underdog of the story because like none of us expected anything from him. He was just like humble, like guy. He's just some random teacher, and then all of a sudden he starts coming out with like the best singers, and he just starts slowly working his way up the popularity ladder.
What was his stick? He had like a nail stuck in his brain as a kid or something.
I don't know, something to that effect.
He had some kind of brain damage, yeah. For me, the movie was mostly just kind of unmemorable.
There was some good bits in it. It begins with introduction of... It's not Shia LaBeouf. It's... Who's the guy who played Frodo?
Elijah Wood.
Elijah Wood.
It begins with Elijah Wood in bed, waking up, and he's got to go do a new job working as a nursery teacher.
No, he's a substitute teacher.
Yeah, he was filling in. And he gets introduced to the principal. Principal's control freak. Obviously, immediately takes away the ability to call to the outside world. Which we always kind of like joke about, saying like this would ruin any horror movie, wouldn't it, having a mobile phone in your hand?
Well, no. Every horror movie set in modern times has to come up with a convenient excuse as to why its characters don't have cell phones, or their cell phones are damaged or inoperable in some way.
Oh my god, you guys, it's a crazed axe murderer. It's okay, I just phoned the cops. Oh, okay. As if that would solve everything. I mean...
And then he meets up with Alison Pill, playing a teacher once again, who we previously saw in Snowpiercer, playing a much, much, much more crazier teacher.
Yeah, we got introduced to Alison Pill's character, who is essentially a giant asshole, but actually trying to be really nice. She's surface level trying to keep it together mentally. We get introduced to Rainn Wilson, who's clearly insecure as hell. He's flaking out over the fact that his girlfriend might be seeing the new guy who just came in immediately.
He was also the dumb dickbag gym teacher.
All gym teachers are kind of like that. Not to throw gym teachers under the bus, but...
I've met some nice ones.
I'm sure there are, but a lot of us have had experiences when we were in school of the gym teachers being kind of not so bright and bullies.
Physical fitness is really the only thing that matters to them, I guess. Getting kids to do something like a regimen. Oy.
Okay, that's giving them way more credit than I would, but sure.
Well, they don't do nothing. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, they have
Not
a
an
job,
easy
they stick to
job.
it.
You got to be on your feet all day.
Yeah. Like, who do you feel sorry for more? The guy who's outside in the rain teaching kids how to play, American football or soccer or something? Or the
I'm
one that's
pretty sure
indoor?
they have indoor facilities if it's raining.
Yes, they do.
Yes, most of them have gyms.
Oh, God bless the three of you and your cotton little soft socks. I didn't get that experience as a kid. I was told to walk outside in the pouring rain and play rugby in the mud.
I also had to deal with that on some occasions. However, I'm just saying, most of the time, I'm pretty sure, they just
What
don't
country
have
do we live in?
indoor facilities.
What country do we live in? I'm sure it's lovely and sunny outside all the time, yeah.
Not all the time.
Anyway.
It happens sometimes, doesn't it?
You broke me,
Sun
Doc, you broke me.
occasionally.
All the memories came back.
Sometimes it's just grey and cloudy, and it's not raining at that particular moment.
Oh, on one of your nicer days.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the movie. It wasn't terrible by any means, but it was just kind of unmemorable. It's one of those you're happy enough to like watch it the one time, but you wouldn't really go watch it again. You might sit through it as somebody else's, but you wouldn't exactly like, oh, I feel like rewatching that. It's very much like a 6 out of 10, I would say.
I would go, Joe. Go.
I was gonna say it begins Kieran's thread of movie with decent premise but pretty crappy ending. This was number one.
Yes, I was going to mention I had a stronger opinion of this movie if the ending kind of stuck its course. The ending, without spoiling anything, is kind of inconclusive.
Oh, go ahead and spoil. I'm not even going to try to keep spoilers from happening anymore.
Ending's a little sequel,
useless.
baby.
Yeah, it's very much sequel bait.
It would have been nice for something a bit more definitive. Wasn't the worst ending, just meh.
I mean, okay, you do get something out of that ending that is not we've not touched upon, which is like the return of a character.
2 characters.
Okay, so 2 characters. Like we get the return of 2 characters who we previously thought were, chowder for kids. And it kind of tied up one plot arc, I guess, with a character quite nicely. Kind of gets over his insecurities and finally steps up to the plate and be the hero. Hell, if anything else, his taking the spotlight kind of makes Elijah Wood as a character sink into the background even further. As a
Yes.
supporting character, which is strange because he starts the beginning of the movie, Elijah Wood's character, as like he's clearly the protagonist. Like a lot of focus is placed on his character, and then gradually over the course of this movie, especially as in the last third, like he just kind of fades in the background.
Yes. Like Elijah Wood is kind of almost a false protagonist.
Like if the entire thing was based on Rainn Wilson, would you like this movie a lot better?
No.
No, I kind of like how it's set up, where you don't think it's going to be about him. Movies like that tend to be more interesting when they catch you off guard and who the protagonist really is. Kind of like the original Psycho.
So is this kind of like How I Met Your Mother? Where
No,
Focus.
fuck that. Fuck that.
I
ending.
was going to say like focus kind of like slowly shifts over the course of the story. I mean, not to like ruin anything, but
No. Let's not talk about that show.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, they clearly had no idea what they were doing, especially towards the end.
Or Lost. They didn't know what they were doing. And that, I think Lost started off with a halfway decent premise, but oh, Lord have mercy.
Anyway, talking about vague drudgery, the platform.
Okay, no, second I believe was Tucker and Dale, wasn't it?
No,
We got Tucker and Dale halfway through. Platform
platform is super early.
Okay. the platform.
I could have sworn the
Yeah,
platform
it-
was first. But go
I
on.
think the
Okay.
platform was second.
Phil, no, I very clearly remember Cooties being first.
Yeah, no, Cooties was definitely first. I think the platform was second.
Okay, Phil, since you're the biggest fan of the platform, why don't you?
Platform is excellent. It's a great little dystopian nightmare story. It's a horrific situation to be in. The setting is very interesting and compelling. The characters, you have to understand, are completely dubbed over, I think, from a Spanish production.
Yes.
Fairly decent dub though, because I forgot we were watching a dub at times.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, it
It was
did
a
come off
good
natural.
job.
But a lot of memorable scenes, very painful, very slow, very spectacular, the scale of it. But the big, as Joe mentioned a little while ago, like it began the second place in the chain of kind of Debbie Downer endings. Like everything about this movie was excellent except for the final few minutes, which kind of I still don't know what to think of it even now, because it's clearly like they're never going to make another one of these movies again for this. Some time has been by since then.
And I think it's good that they're not going to make another one.
I mean, maybe it's for the better because now you're talking about it retrospectively. You're going to be like asking about this one for a while. You're going to be quoting it. You're going to be like thinking of the ideas that it takes.
No, shit up, stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
Bishop.
A joke from the night.
I will say, out of all of Kieran's movies, this was the most horrific out of all of them. Because most of Kieran's picks were comedies. This
Let's do the
was clearly not.
Let's do the like the basic remarks, right? Let's do the premise. The premise is there's 300 something floors to this horrifically tall structure inside or outside, we don't know. And it's a prison block. And the idea is every month, two prisoners are randomly relocated to one of the floors.
Oh no, all of the floors are randomly relocated.
Yeah, they gas the
There's
prisoners
two
during the
per
sleep.
floor, and every 30 days they all get switched up.
Yeah, they get switched up from like floors 1 all the way down to floor whatever the hell, right? And in the center of every single room, descending all the way down to the very bottom of the structure, is a single elevator that has a lot of beautiful, fresh, gorgeous looking food on it.
A feast, essentially.
It's a banquet, literally on an elevator platform. And the idea is simple. This platform slowly descends between each floor one by one, and you take whatever is on said platform to feed yourself for the rest of the day or the next day after or whatever. Like, do they have like a time frame, like how it's done one by one? Like, is it?
It stays for a certain time period on each floor.
Like
when
a
it
number of
descends,
minutes, right?
yeah, when it I don't remember the exact amount of time. Let's say it's 5 minutes. Just to put a number out there. It'll descend to floor 1, stay there 5 minutes, then descend to floor 2. And you're allowed to eat whatever you can stuff in your face and eat. You're not allowed to take anything off to save for later.
Yeah. This is the logical conundrum of the whole movie, which everything is revolving around now. Everybody on floor 1, or who is on floor 1 at the current time, gets the highest priorities. Therefore, they can choose whatever food they want. And as the floors go lower and lower and lower for the platform to continue going down, you get less and less and less from the moms that need feeding.
Yeah.
It eventually becomes brutal and ruthless and really dark.
The opening lines of the movie pretty much sum up the entire plot, where the older prisoner tells our protagonist, "It's simple what we do here. We eat. Some days or some months it's easier than others, but that's what we do here."
Quite literally that.
And those simple words basically sum up the entire movie in its most basic form.
Well, it's about putting your own existence above everybody else, not rationing or doing anything to help anybody else or save people in general. Allegorical to a lot of things going on. Our planet is being destroyed, stripped, and nobody's thinking about the future or people that will come later. They're only thinking about right now what they can make off it. And there's so many other instances. Look at religions, governments. There's so many groups that are doing exactly that. And this movie does put it in your face that that attitude does literally kill people, including children. And it doesn't really benefit anybody.
It wasn't really the children that were kind of the,
No, it was the people.
I was going to say it was the doggo.
That one got to me. That hurt so bad.
Oh, that was so fun because clearly it was fake. Don't worry. But yeah, like the desperation of the situation gets worse and worse and worse as the longer the movie just plods on. Rather horrific.
Now,
What was it like? The theory eventually becomes a case of, okay, instead of trying to go upwards, this one guy smartly just brings a rope as a item. Like, explain the item situation.
well, you're allowed to bring one item, any one item of your choosing, with you while you're imprisoned. Now, like the guy the protagonist wakes up with when he first finds himself in the prison, although he went involuntarily, which seems incredibly stupid to me, that guy wanted his special Ginsu knife, basically. And I'm probably the only one old enough to know what a Ginsu knife is.
Wait, I thought the protagonist had Don Quixote.
No, our protagonist had
the knife.
He's talking about the
other
old
guy had
man.
the knife.
Yes.
The Samurai
Yes.
Plus. Or whatever it was.
It's a Ginsu knife, yeah. And yes, our protagonist has Don Quixote. And he's going to read that while he's in there. More power to him. But most people will bring some kind of a weapon because they understand that it is a survival situation. Some people will want to bring something like Don Quixote.
It's also like this gets into the more dystopian aspects of the movie, though. But it's also interesting that the oh god, what would you even call that place?
The shaft, like the elevator, the a tower.
The prison?
Okay, let's call it a prison for lack of a better word. Whatever it is used as a prison. But our protagonist and I think a lady we meet later on show that it's also used. You know, you can also go there voluntarily, and if you survive a certain amount of time, I believe it was 6 months, you will get something from society for doing it. By going in voluntarily. Like, he wanted a diploma for somewhere, I believe.
He wanted basically a PhD. It was for a PhD.
I forgot what the lady wanted. I think she was just there because she was sick and she wanted to spend the remainder of her time proving a point.
Basically, yeah.
Well, proving the point eventually becomes the point of the movie towards the end.
Yes.
As time continues onwards.
But, you know, there's various reasons why people end up in this place is what I found to be the most interesting thing. The fact that it could be voluntarily or it could be a form of imprisonment.
So gradually our main character meets another like-minded individual who intelligently decides to bring rope into the prison complex with them. And the attempts to ascend using said rope, trying to convince everybody above them one by one so they can reach the top, kind of fails miserably. They decide the only course of action is to descend to the very bottom to see how far we can actually go. I'm not sure how we got there with the panna cotta, which kind of everything revolves around near the end.
The panna cotta is the message.
Yes, but panna cotta is the message.
It's kind of like the Divine Comedy towards the end. Like, you're like descending deeper and deeper to see how far the well goes.
That's the visual kind of obvious kind of design to it. Because when our protagonist finally reaches the very bottom floor, descends beyond the complex, he's greeted with a vision of an individual who he met near the beginning of the movie, who explains the entire situation to him, and it's almost as if he's in hell.
The entire movie is essentially hell, but yeah.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Well, the entire movie was essentially a metaphor for both how communism and the idea of trickle-down economics and capitalism. Neither of them work because of human greed. Quite frankly, that's kind of the big metaphor just running along the whole thing. The more interesting part of it to me, which is something we brought up when we initially finished the film, was what they bring in with them is very much the desert island question. And is probably that conversation is part of why this movie is so memorable now, because of Joe and his fishing rod.
Well, to be fair, I made that thinking we were talking about a desert island, not the complex in the movie.
And I agree with that. Joe was
No,
thinking
he was.
Desert Island. It was
The
very
misunderstanding, however, was still fucking
was funny.
hilarious.
But Kieran also has a very good point about the desert island thing of, well, if you're thinking that you would bring a fishing rod or what have you, then you're already planning on staying. You've already given up the possibility of leaving, of getting out of there.
The thing about the desert island question is it's not about necessarily what you choose to bring. Because no matter what you choose, it's always the wrong answer. There's always some argument against it. There's always some argument for it. Yeah, you can bring a fishing rod, but you're never gonna fucking leave the island. You could bring a boat, but there's no guarantee you're gonna get anywhere.
But at least you'll try.
But yeah, at least you'll try. There's no winning to that question, but what it does show is the person's attitude towards things.
Yeah, the
And
mindset.
that's the interesting part of that.
Ending.
Yeah, damn good movie. Bad ending though.
That's number 2 for bad endings.
Our central characters towards the halfway point of the movie decide to let's descend all the way down to the bottom, see how far it goes, see if we can escape the other way around. And they decide on guarding a panna cotta, giving it to a young girl who they think is a survivor somewhere in this complex.
No. That gets
she's
set
a
up earlier.
Too.
That gets set up earlier. They meet a woman who constantly descends from above, or wherever she is really, each month because she's looking for her daughter on one of the levels.
Her child, yeah.
And
Okay, so they take it upon themselves.
one of the characters, I don't know if it's the lady our protagonist meets or the old man, tells him at one point that her daughter is already dead, she's just insane. But apparently she clearly wasn't completely insane because they do encounter the daughter at the end.
Which kind of leads to our big sacrifice moment, big ending. They decide at the final moment that, hey, instead of guarding this cake, to safeguard somebody's future for another few days, they decide to stick the young girl onto the platform and send her to the top.
And the platform, ascends at insane speeds, which was established earlier.
Well,
just that.
the point of preserving the panna cotta from being eaten was to make the point of we're not going to play your damn games.
Oh, we can learn from this. We don't need to eat to survive. We can metaphorically reach the bottom without, with food still intact.
Yeah, we
Okay.
give you back what you're making us scrounge for because we are above that. We're
Like,
not
what I
going to
like-
play your games anymore.
What I like about when they reach the bottom is, there's no implication. It's just vagary. It's vague, but it's very implicit.
Yeah, the ending was a bit too artsy bullshit for me, personally.
the ending has like inconclusive. It just cuts to black on like a pivotal moment, and then you left to figure out for yourself what it meant and what the signification was.
It contradicts what was established earlier because we saw how quickly that thing ascends. I mean, the panna cotta and, probably more concerning the little girl would be like liquefied by the time either one got to the top.
No,
So-
it descends slowly. It's the ascent.
Yeah, that's what I meant, the ascend. Thank you.
You got main
But what
characters.
bothers me still is how the fuck does the damn thing move?
Magnets, probably.
There's no strings. There's no piston. There's no mechanism by which it should be moving. It's like some magical hovering slab of concrete.
Tractor beam, nano machines, magnets, ukas. It's a plot device.
Not device.
It's a
But
dystopian
it still
prison
gets
complex.
to me.
Okay, ladder, calm down.
No, it's not the ladder because the ladder could have been in one of the equipment bags.
We
A collapsible ladder could be.
covered that on the previous review.
There's a logical reason
We'll
why
cover that
a
enough.
ladder. Yeah, there's a logical reason why a ladder could have been there. With this, there's absolutely no logical reason on why that platform moves up and down.
This really is her ladder, isn't
Magic
it?
block.
Oh yeah.
No,
Loosen up
because
by
there's
now.
no logic to this where there is logic to the ladder.
Magic block.
Magic block. Okay.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Cal, you're basically asking what makes the cars fly in Blade Runner.
Yes.
Oh, no, I'm not asking that because it's science fiction set in the future.
This is science
This
fiction.
is science fiction set in the future. It's just dystopic.
Yeah, this is dystopianism.
We don't know exactly when it's set. It could be set in the here and now.
It could be set 50 years ago. You just don't know it. Just a
Yeah.
magic box in the middle. Okay.
The platform is just obnoxiously magical, and I can't stand it. Okay, so our next movie was Tucker and Dale. Okay, Tucker and Dale. I love that movie. I love it.
Easily Kieran's best film.
I
The
love
crown-
Alan Tudyk.
The crown jewel of his picks.
Yeah, easily.
I love
Funny.
Alan Tudyk.
Funny the whole way through. Interesting story. Interesting premise. Great plot twist, which everybody can see coming a mile away if anybody's been spoiled by the trailer. And actually has it actually doesn't just have a conclusive ending, but a fulfilling ending too,
Yes.
which is a shocking break from the norm.
It's kind of like Rick and Morty in certain episodes of Futurama where you're wondering, how can something this stupid be this intelligent? Because Tucker and Dale is a much smarter movie than it has any right to be. And it's weird.
It marks a lot of tropes throughout its runtime.
It mocks a lot of tropes, and it mocks
definitely insane.
judgmental jackasses.
Oh yeah, I mean it marks the tropes of like horror movies, plus
Most slashes in the woods, especially.
Oh, yeah.
How do you go about talking about this movie without spoiling the gist of it?
You don't.
Oh, we're going to spoil away right now. I'm just going to put a disclaimer at the beginning that there will be spoilers ahead.
Because the premise and the hook of
please.
this movie, once it gets nuanced properly, it sells the whole thing. You'll watch it specifically for this, if anything else.
But, despite the fact that the plot of the movie is clearly Looney Tunes, there's a really good story about acceptance in there.
Oh, yeah.
Don't judge a book by its cover. Very,
Mm-hmm.
very surface level. I think that was a bit too on the head. The Tucker and Dale versus the forces of evil. You got to remember the actual evil of the movie is presumption.
Yes.
Like, the evil is ignorance. The evil is, like, gun jumping a situation, thinking you have all the answers. You're so sure of yourself.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
there's quite a lot of classism in there. The hillbilly redneck type, which are Tucker and Dale, or a presumed hillbilly / redneck type. They're just good old boys. They're nice, good old boys.
We're introduced at the beginning to a group of teenagers who seem as if they're going to be the main characters. They seem very straight-laced and boilerplate, you know,
They
dime for a
seem
dozen.
your basic college kids going off for a weekend. Cabin in the woods.
Friday the 13th, like every 80s, 70s slasher known to man. Just essentially the setup. Like, they're the victims of the movie inside
And
your
even-
imagination.
Even 90s stuff wasn't like Wrong Turn, a group of college kids type thing.
I just thought it was 2000s. Okay.
Oh, I thought that was like late 90s.
Yeah, I remember watching
could have
Wrong
been.
Turn
I
in
don't remember.
college in 2000.
Honestly, I don't know what year it came out.
The premise of the movie is these your so-called main characters. They're really false main characters because they're immediately intimidated by a pair of rednecks who they come across on this the road, who they think are quite scary. They seem daunting and sinister. They have otherworldly plans for them and such horrific things in mind. And immediately we're introduced to these two nitwits, and they're just brothers. They're just friends. They're just essentially hanging out. They've just recently bought a new holiday home. They're trying to settle in.
Well, it's literally Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah, it's a dilapidated cabin in the woods, the immediate location for a horror movie just waiting to happen. It's a death trap. Like, it's literally a death trap where even the cop of the movie is mentioned, like, ooh, you don't want to live here. This is horrific.
Phil, it's a work in progress.
It's a bit of a fixer-upper.
It's a lot of a fixer-upper. Watch out for... Oh. Yeah. That beam.
So
And
our two true main characters immediately get into wacky hijinks with teenage scumbags.
Well, the name of the movie tells you who the main characters really are. They're Tucker
Yeah.
and Dale. You know it's going to be about them, but why are there these standard horror movie trope, college kids? It seemed pretty obvious to me even the first time I watched it that was going to be turned on the head. The college kids were going to be bad. And look, I was right.
well, every trailer for this movie kind of spoils that because they, advertise the gimmick of the movie.
Now, see, I didn't see any trailers.
So, of course, what ensue is Alan Tudyk and Tyler Labine immediately get into a series of escapades by pure accident every single time with these teenagers who seem mortifyingly more and more convinced two of them are up to no good. They have to be stopped. They've kidnapped one of their friends.
Yes,
They have to
kidnapped.
be
Clearly.
defeated. Yes. Not rescued, kidnapped.
It's just an overall great comedy that also works on an emotional level. It's always weird when those two mix.
It's great on a message level too, because it's not just the premise which is intelligent. It's the revelation towards the second half of the movie. Oh, what said evil is. Like, it's not just implied. It's like actually shown a lot through like all the dialogue and all the connections and character relationships going on. Like, just talk. Like, it solves all your problems, even horror movie problems, apparently.
Great use of escalation too. Like, it's almost like one of those classic South Park episodes where the premise starts off so basic, and then at the end You don't even know how you got there, but you're glad you're there.
Okay, it did. There was a point in the story where I was thinking to myself, like, they've killed off what seems like the majority of the cast at this point. And I'm looking at the stopwatch, and I'm like, there's still a good half an hour or so to go. Like, where are they going to go from here? And sure enough, like, they had plenty more story to tell. It was all compelling. It just went beyond the premise, which was like something I was never expecting. I thought the premise was going to be that from beginning to end, but it turns out they had more to do. Because as soon as like the wacky hijinks with the accidental deaths and Alan Tudyk making his hilarious commentary on each one of them, it kind of died down a little bit, and the kids started running out of the number one by one. You do get a kind of like, oh, is there going to be a bit of a break now? Is there going to be, is it going to be a resolution in some kind of way? But no, it just ups the ante even more for the finale.
Alan Tudyk is a man that will never cease to amaze me. Like, he almost every time I see him in a different role, he finds a way to play a character more weird than the one I've seen him in last. Like, I think you and me, Phil, have often said that both he and Taika Waititi probably have two of the weirdest resumes on the planet.
1 year I was an alien. Okay.
This was the year I was the sassy robot. I got to wear a mocap suit.
This movie hasn't got too many big stars, but like everything that works about it is just like Tyler Labine. The only thing I remember Tyler Labine from was like the Reaper TV show, which had the guy who played Leland from Twin Peaks and Ray
Wise.
Ray Wise. Ray Wise is excellent, but he's not in this. But Shaw Lives Show, that Reaper. Like he's good in this. He basically carries the movie as the emotional protagonist.
Yeah.
He's a dim-witted goober who's trying to do good by everybody around him.
Honestly, Alan Tudyk seems to be the character that has the most sense in his head. Those college kids,
in a cynical
they have
way,
book learning, but they are dumb as stones.
in a cynical way, though.
It's kind of weird Alan Tudyk playing the voice of reason, though, because he almost never is.
I mean, he's the voice of reason and cynic to the point where it seems like he's kind of using Dale, but kind of gaslighting him here or there.
No, he's trying to give him courage. Try to get him to stick up for himself.
Yeah, and then like a dozen times with
And then turn around telling him that he's stupid.
Yeah, like half a dozen times he turns around and tells him, "No, don't do that. You're stupid. Have more confidence in yourself."
Sometimes some people do need to be told they're stupid.
But yeah, the ending.
Some people are very stupid, but Dale?
The ending is kind of set up neatly since the beginning because we're told about the murder house. We're told about a character that's constantly losing the plot. Like he becomes more and more acts crazy. You don't actually know he's the film's central antagonist until he gradually develops into it as the time goes on, right?
He basically turns into Two-Face.
Yeah, he basically becomes kind of like an alpha male kind of Two-Face at the end. He's leading everybody on this like doomed little crusade to get back and trying to get his girlfriend back, but at the same time, punish these two men. And of course, what do we get in the end? The big revelation that, oh, you were the child from the murder house that was rescued that day. Wait, what?
That part seems a little tacked on.
Yeah, that seems a bit tacked on. It's a nice little bow to bring everything together, but it's kind of like the writers saying, like, we're done with this character. Like, we've had him this long. We've developed him until now.
I love Tucker and Dale. I'm questioning calling this one a ringer, honestly.
It's not best of the worst material, is it? It's not like VHS knockoff Night of the Week movie. It's like it's a Saturday night showpiece, despite the fact that it's like straight to DVD origins.
It's a really good movie. I don't think anybody that I know has seen it has not found it hilarious. I think everybody who I know of, having seen it, I loved it, thought it was hilarious.
Like, I'll say this much to the movie's favor. I'm kind of shocked that the actual concept has not been imitated by now in another movie. Like, say somebody tries to do the same kind of thing, the same premise. Hey, these guys seem like the antagonists, except they're not. They're actually totally innocent of the real main characters.
Here's one thing I'm more shocked with. Now, I don't know if this movie made money or flopped or whatever, but I know it's critically loved. I'm surprised these characters have not been brought back for other movies, like Tucker and Dale versus whatever and whatever.
So I'm looking at the actual movie on Wikipedia now. Its budget was $5 million. It just barely made over its budget back by $5.7 million. And of course, we know budget goes beyond that. The $5 million that it says.
Yeah, advertising.
Yeah, there's distribution, there's everything.
I just looked up Rotten Tomatoes. It got an 85% both tomato meter and audience score, which is pretty darn good.
Do know that what I've just mentioned, the figure, the 5.7, is box office. It doesn't necessarily mean the whole market or anything. Like, it could be a cult movie, like The Thing or Evil Dead, where it just receives so much success on VHS tape or DVD.
Or
No,
our favorite,
Red
The
Bull
Room.
Are you sure? Because I'm looking at the Rotten Tomatoes page, and it says that release date in theaters September 30, 2011, to limited release.
Yeah.
Release date streaming November 29th, 2011. Box office gross USA 223,000 or 223.6 thousand. Oh.
That's
Ooh,
worse than
that's
what it
actually
mentions
really
here.
bad.
Yeah, that's worse than what it says here.
But it's not showing what the
I mean, it doesn't deserve it. It deserves all the success.
budget was. Oh yeah, it deserves to be extremely successful, but all these people are giving it huge.
Well, there's that notion to go on, at least. Like, you're at least letting people know currently right now that this is a great movie that's well worth seeking out and watching. Like, you're helping turning favor around already, even though you don't realize it quite yet.
I loved it. I love how everything, except for the one batshit character, everything boiled down to just assuming that the redneck who's socially awkward is a creeper and deciding, oh no, they're out to get us. Everything could have been avoided just by showing a little kindness. Not assuming that that's a bad person. Even though he did come off kind of creepy. So that was kind of fair. I love this movie. Okay, what do we have next? We had Dead Snow.
This is the part where things started to go a little downhill.
Like an avalanche.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that was the movie.
Dead
There
Snow
was an
wasn't all
avalanche.
bad.
No, it was funny. It was.
Yeah, I enjoyed Dead Snow. I enjoyed it.
It wasn't an amazing movie by any means, but it was enjoyable.
Like, I'll say
The
this
premise
much though.
was dumb, but it knew its premise was dumb. It rolled with it.
Like, you can clearly tell from production design to how low budget things were, and even one of the characters had I think it was an Evil Dead shirt on his chest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's clearly inspired and a parody of certain horror situation movies. But this is I gotta say, as one of Kieran's for kind of unresolved, kind of iffy endings, this was the least insulting. I think this is obviously Tucker and Dale, excellent, but this is above the others for the ending because it feels natural, it feels earned, at the end.
I liked it okay. I mean, it wasn't great by any means, but it was enjoyable enough. I enjoyed it. It was silly. It was ridiculous in all the right ways.
Okay, 6 friends go to a cabin in Norway, is it? I think. In
Yes.
the snowy mountains up there. They're trying to get away from what I think is a doctorate for the time being, aren't they? The medical students.
Yes.
They're studying.
One is a medical student. They're all college students, university students, but
Okay.
only one, I believe, is a medical student.
Gets established quite early, though, because they're trying to get away for the weekend. I think 2 of them are a couple. The other are just 2 friends. And they invite a crazed hitchhiker of sorts. Is it like a rambling hiker? Just suddenly comes across
No,
in the middle of the night.
no. It started off with the friends who were all the students.
Yeah.
Traveling together. Some guy just randomly showed up at the cabin and was like, "What? You're not going to show any basic hospitality?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, sure. Basic hospitality. Here you go. Would you like some tea or something?" Yeah. And yeah, he basically lets them know that shit's about to hit the fan.
Yes, he gives them
You
an
can
on.
tell it's Norway because I know for a fact if that was here, it's like, oh, are you not going to show any basic hospitality? Pfft, nope, fuck off.
Yeah,
Boom, door slammed.
they would shut the door on him or just kick the crap out of him and send him packing.
In the college student's defense, they were scared at the time. He did frighten them initially because it is a very horror movie trope that random person in the middle of the nowhere shows up to deliver a warning about the
You know what it is? You know what it
whatever
is?
horrific thing that's about to befall them.
It's
Yeah,
American
no
Werewolf.
good will come of this.
Hey, it's American Werewolf in London. Stay off the moors, lad. Stay off
But-
the moors.
But a creepy man showing up in the middle of nowhere talking about Nazi zombies would frighten somebody, unless, because either it's real and we're fucked, or this man's clearly insane and, we might also be fucked.
Yeah, we're fucked because he's in our living room.
But as we soon find out, he's the worst of the problems.
He's the least of it.
Please.
He's
He isn't
very
really
much
an actual problem.
his neutrality of the whole situation is possible potential psychosis, and like him being on his own and kind of creepy and intimidating is the very least of their problems as that story goes on.
Yeah, comparatively, he's not even actually a problem, is he?
No.
So they give him exactly what he wants. They warm him up. They give him a good tune or two. They sit there awkwardly looking at him, expecting him to turn into an axe murderer at any moment. He
And
gives
then
them a creepy story.
and he basically thinks their tea or coffee tastes like crap and takes a beer anyway.
Yeah, he wants a beer.
I mean, at that
Which-
point, they calm down because, the other option is completely off the table, and he's not about to come out with the line of, oh, have you heard of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? Because, let's be honest, if anybody else was going to show up randomly at the door, it would be a Jehovah's Witness or
yeah.
a Mormon.
What about Santa? Oh.
I mean, it may be
Oh,
snowing,
he's
but I
so
don't think it's
cute,
that time of year.
Bill.
I think typically uses the chimney.
I thought you'd been on the naughty list too long to have any idea what Santa uses.
I mean, there is that, but on the other hand, I mean, he's not getting in my house, so gotta go out the chimney.
Hey, Kieran has to get his coal from somewhere.
Free coal.
Free fossil fuels. Cheers, big guy. Bye.
Hey, I got a friend who does blacksmithing who would love to be brought free coal.
Can we talk about the awkward outhouse sex scene in this movie? Because it's really weird.
Sure, go ahead. Drink, Phil.
I ain't drinking for Jack, especially when it's pitch black in the dark anyway.
As
So-
far as go on.
So one of our first victims, diabetic guy, I'll just call him, the guy with the Evil Dead shirt on. He goes out to the outhouse, goes for urination or whatever, and
I
his
think it's
girlfriend.
the other way, but go on.
Speaking of, I need a piss. I'll be back in a minute.
Pretty sure he was, doing the other thing, Phil. He was sitting down.
Okay, but he and his girlfriend kind of have relations during that point where he's clearly got his pants down for another reason. Just sat down in
Yeah,
a very
that's kind of gross.
like it's the definition of tone movie, like awkward maybe.
Oh,
When
no,
he's got
baby, about that. That was super awkward.
when he's got a clench, he's got a squeeze as well. I mean,
Talk about going out and in at the same time.
we gotta
Yeah, we're
stop.
just talking about that.
We gotta stop. So yeah, he flushes, I guess.
It's an outhouse. I don't know if that's an
Yeah.
option.
He flushes. They finish. I think she remains behind, doesn't she? He kind of walks away, goes
Mhm.
back inside the house, singing, and this begins our first introduction of
Our first kill.
our antagonist of the story. Frozen Nazi zombies from an SS unit that somehow went through Norway and got stuck there for 70 years under the snow. Discuss!
No.
Like, how do you even begin to, dignify this situation? Go on.
Okay, it is really silly. The characters are obviously pretty damn incompetent. But it was so much fun.
It has probably one of my favorite moments throughout any of the films we've seen this Halloween season, and that's when the one of the boys, I believe, is trying to make a what are those flaming cocktails you can make by
Molotov.
Molotov? There we go. And he's about to throw it out the window at the Nazi zombies. And he ends up hitting the ceiling, lighting the cabin on fire.
Yeah, he sets the cabin on fire
I
with himself.
forgot about that scene. Yeah, but yeah, he just completely misses the fucking window by about 2 feet. It just starts burning down the cabin.
The rest of his friends just turned to look at him.
I was about
freaking
fucking pissing myself. He was like 2 feet from the fucking window.
Oh, the incompetence.
But why though?
That joke caught me completely off guard.
Oh, same. That was genuinely pretty fucking funny.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was funny.
So
it was
yeah,
silly
it had
in
its
all the
good
right
moments.
ways.
It had some
So-
kind of shitty ones too, and it was kind of meh. But overall, it was an enjoyable film. It actually was better than I expected it to be. I'll give it that.
So slowly begins the whole let's stay inside the cabin, we're safe. Not knowing that on top of gold coins, which
Oh,
kind of become the MacGuffin of the movie.
I forgot all about the coins. You're right.
Yeah, they were pretty much the whole reason the Nazis were there, weren't they?
So the cabin burns down, the friends escape at daylight. They're kind of aided a little bit by one that seemingly kind of implied to have got killed near the beginning. Really just fell down into a cave and discovered these guys before they kind of went, living again. What's the flow of events from this point onwards? I think like 2 of them start arming themselves to the teeth, don't they? They start getting serious.
Well, it is life or death, you know.
Yeah, it's a life-death
It's
situation
a good time
against.
to get serious. If any time is a good time to get serious, this would be it.
They decide, let's run to the car. Car has its engine pulled out. Okay, let's split up from these suckers. They jump out from the snow at you one by one. And so the group kind of dwindles a little bit one by one until only the 2 Dorkies remain and they defend themselves. And then I think it's the guy who was left off earlier on arrives. The guy who we thought got killed first behind the scenes returns to kind of save the day for a little bit.
Yeah, I think the distributor cap was probably removed, if I'm not mistaken. Which is a good way to make a car not start.
It becomes this like kind of like desperate kind of action sequence where they're just trying to get further and further away from this like never-ending onslaught of Nazi zombies that just keep rising out of the snow one by one.
And just won't go away.
It almost becomes a Evil Dead parody at one point, which is ironic because Evil Dead, at least the sequels anyway, are parodies of horror movies.
You know what's interesting about this movie that I never actually quite figured out at the time, and it only kind of, for the final 10 or 15 minutes, is that the lead character of this movie is not actually defined quite well.
No, not at all.
Like, our lead character ends up being said medical student from the beginning, the one that's introduced with that comment. And he kind of gets, like, one arm sliced off near the end, and you kind of think, oh, he's done for. But he persists all the way through to the very last minute.
Till he doesn't.
Yeah, so obviously he doesn't in the final few shots.
Okay, so to clarify, the comment is during an avalanche, a lot of people wind up digging themselves deeper into the snow because they can't tell which way is up because it's so disorienting. So he was taught while he was in the military to spit. And direction the spit goes
is the flow of gravity.
You is down, so you dig the opposite way.
Right.
That was the most intelligent part of the movie.
That was the most intelligent part of the movie, clearly.
And that is very real and very reasonable advice.
The most interesting thing from the movie is I think it's the character of Vigard. He's the guy at the beginning of the movie that kind of, we think he's the first false victim. He's kind of set up as he returns back to the group more and more and more, as if like he's the real main character.
Yes.
But even that is kind of like a side distraction towards the end, where he shows up and he makes a rescue for his two remaining friends, but he gets killed in the process. And it kind of like all falls back to our lead character with the glasses once again. But he realizes at the last minute, hey, they're after the gold. And he doesn't actually realize it, but he has a single gold coin in the final shot of this movie when he finally gets back to safety and obscurity in that car.
And by then it's too late.
Knock on the window. License and registration, please, sir. In German.
Show your papers. Yes. It was funny. It was silly. I like silly, though. Hence, the friends that I have.
Not the best movie, but had some memorable moments.
Yeah.
But a movie doesn't have to
6 out of
be
10.
No, I kind of agree with him.
considered good in order to be great to watch.
It had one really amazing moment we just laughed about earlier on, which was the highlight of the whole thing.
Yeah, because y'all have to go on with Kieran not here, so. Anyway, next was Anna and the Apocalypse. And
Yay.
for some reason, I was confused and thought we were. Yeah, I am prepared for this war.
You're gonna defend this one, really?
At least they could all sing.
I like to think I've got a measured kind of perspective.
In order for a musical to be good, the music has to be good. They might have been able to sing, but what they were singing was trash.
But
It was
you can see
exceptionally
why.
repetitive.
Okay, you can see why, though. This is clearly the budget of a student movie with not a lot of gore effects and budget to use on said zombie apocalypse. And so what they spent it on instead is songs and choreography. And
It reminded me way too much of High School Musical, and that's the last thing I want to think about in either a horror movie or a comedy.
Like, yeah, to define this immediately what it is. This is essentially High School Musical in Scotland, but with zombies.
Now, see, I have an advantage over y'all when it comes to that. I've never seen High School Musical.
Neither have I,
So,
Carol, but I know what it
have
is.
no idea. I've heard of it, I've heard it referred to, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, so I'll have something new to torture you with in the future.
Go ahead. Remember, I'm older and I've seen more shit.
We've seen half of that
I've
crap
seen
with
more
you.
garbage.
We've seen half of that garbage.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, you have no idea.
Carol, we've seen
I
5
have
feature-length
very solid.
films by Neil Breen.
But that is gold. Neil Breen films are just gold.
Anyway,
Yeah,
the apocalypse.
yeah, yay.
Introduced to Anna at the beginning of the movie. Anna wishes to leave the little town of Scotland that she's in currently. Her father does not want her to go. Wants her to stay, I think, and continue her studies in town. She wants to leave. She wants to travel the world, doesn't she? To see new places, to experience new things. And she has a kind of simping best friend who clearly has feelings for her throughout the entire movie.
Mm.
Oh yeah, friend zone guy.
Friend zone friend.
Yeah. Friend zone boy is a very common thing.
Doomed character, essentially. Like, good intentions, doomed character.
Oh, poor thing. You're gonna die a virgin.
Right. Oh.
Because we have several musical numbers of the characters expressing their feelings.
We get introduced to 2 other quirky little characters as well. I think actually it's 3, isn't it? We get introduced to one who's a filmmaker, student filmmaker, and the other one is clearly kind of into board politics and such within the school, and is trying to stand up for herself as kind of like a radical personality who's clearly intelligent, but at the same time she's being held back because of remarks about her gender.
Yeah.
Fucking journos.
So we're introduced to these 4 main characters, and eventually we're introduced to the chaotic element of the story, which is the would-be seemingly at first the bully character, who turns out to be pretty okay and on the page as the movie continues onwards.
He kind of reminded me of Steve from Stranger Things a little bit. Where you have the bully initially being an asshole, like bullies would be, but kind of saving the day towards the second half of the movie.
It reminded me of Rainn Wilson's character, where he kind of thrives in this situation, which requires physicality and boldness.
Yeah, that too.
And because of that, it kind of sets his character completely straight because he's so naturally fit for the situation. Yeah, he gets introduced. He has all his friends. All his friends get eaten, but like, and so ensues a bunch of songs that don't make a lick of sense. They're all poorly worded, and
some of which we hear multiple times.
Multiple times, repeating, recurring.
Because they could only afford 4 songs.
But I would rather hear 4 songs sung well than.
And so the backdrop of this movie becomes Anna wakes up the following morning after something or other, and zombie apocalypse outside my house. Better walk to school. Because that's what school kids do in high school.
Hey, Scotland's badass.
But yeah, there's not much else to tell us. Like, it slowly dawned upon the situation they're currently in right now. The friend gets a little bit more squeamish. The other 2 get introduced, and they have their own little story arcs. The They introduced the bully again. The bully becomes a better character because he's able to save their lives. They continue on to school. They find out there's a situation going down there. They want to leave as soon as possible. Like Anna reaffirms herself to go again, travel around the world like she always wanted to. And in the process, a lot of characters get killed.
Oh yeah.
Best simp buddy gets killed. All Bully's friends get killed, and then gradually, I think the other two, the girl and the photographer, get killed.
Friend
We get like
zone character gets killed. Did we cover him? I don't know.
yeah, we
Pretty
but
sure.
then we kind of get like a really low budget ending with the guy who plays Thoros of Mir, who's like the real antagonist of the movie. He's kind of like this power mad principal, this headmaster who's in charge of the school.
Yeah.
Like he demands everybody to be on his own time, his own watch. Do as I say, otherwise you won't succeed or fit well in this situation. And he's kidnapped her dad by the end of the movie.
And wants to feed him to zombies.
Wants to feed him to zombos.
Yay!
What a jerk bag.
And they do this while singing.
Why not?
Did you not feel like our headmaster antagonist, like he kind of did a few dance number like choreography stances here or there? It made me feel like I was watching Rocky Horror Picture Show, like Frankenfurter.
Just nowhere near as good.
Like how flamboyantly vain he was getting, like in self-indulgent.
Everybody wants to be Tim Curry.
Damn straight.
Tim Curry is wonderful.
But like another dance number can't hide the fact that it's clearly a low-budget situation. Oh, they got a bunch of the cast members dressed up as zombies. It's probably the most amount of commitment they put into the situation.
Hey, this movie could afford David Tennant. Show respect.
Yes, David Tennant is on screen for about 5 seconds of this movie in like a very brief moment as a cameo.
If that.
He stirs into the screen when he's looking at like a home movie. But everybody gets killed except for Anna and the bully. They get in the car at the end.
And now the blonde-haired girl survives.
Oh, does she? Oh,
She saves him at the end.
Yeah.
you know that. You remember this way better than me now. Even though it was like several weeks ago.
It has something to do with me remembering trauma quite well.
So, thoughts, opinions. Did we like this? Did we hate it?
It wasn't the best, but it was entertaining enough, at least, that people could sing.
These were like 6 out of 10, at worst, I would say. This one, unfortunately, the shitter good and was a straight 3.
What did you think of Anna first? Carol said her piece. What do you think?
Me? I thought it was terrible.
Okay, you thought it was bad.
Yes, I did. I High School Musical. I hate High School Musical.
I thought this one was interesting. I'm going to be honest. I was only slightly invested into it because, not because of like the premise, the genre, and everything it was attempting to do. And at the end of the day, you got to remember, it did just attempt it. It didn't do it successfully well. I was more interested in it because there was a guy that behind the scenes died writing this movie. It was like the very last thing that he did, and he was celebrated by Ryan Reynolds.
Oh wow!
Who like got a Facebook campaign for him and everything just to honor his memory, and he's even in like the thing at the end in the credits. But I was solely invested, emotionally for that alone. Didn't get much more out of it because the singing, as Carol mentioned, the songs are not great.
The songs are not, but at least the people can sing. And Joe, you keep saying you hate High School Musical. But when I said I don't know whether I like it or not because I've never seen it, you said you haven't either. How do you know you hate it if you've never seen it?
I've seen bits and pieces, Carol, and the bits and pieces I have seen have not painted a very pretty picture.
It very much comes off as the very childish attitude. Oh, I don't like vegetables. Oh, but you've not tried this one. Oh, but I don't like it.
Kieran, read a Game of Thrones. You've never
Yeah.
tried it yet.
I'm not remotely interested in it.
Well, that's me in High School Musical then.
No, it's him saying that he's not interested in the whole sword and sorcery and way too much political bullshit,
Oh, come on. He loves
which
Dark
is
Souls.
completely different
Uh,
from saying I don't like something that I've never actually tried.
To be fair,
I'm not
if anything
interested in the
else,
genre is one thing, but I don't like something that I've never even seen is entirely different.
well, he's never seen it. He's
Hey,
never read it.
to be perfectly
I
fair,
don't
like
have
Dark
interest in
Souls,
political bullshit.
Yeah, I know Dark Souls. He freaking loves Dark Souls. It's medieval, dragons.
let me finish. Like he doesn't in Dark Souls, they don't do enough of it. It's very vague and very surface level. I mean, there's some interesting, deeper
Dark Souls,
things.
it's less about like the lore and stuff, and it's more about the gameplay.
Gameplay rules that game.
Mm.
Anyway, your last movie, go on.
Behind the Mask: The Rise of Leslie Vernon. This one was a great film.
Yes.
Definitely top 3 of mine.
I liked it. It did drag a little bit
Yeah, it's some slow moments.
for a while, but that's fine. I'm not that impatient where it has to. Oh, I'm echoing. Where it has to just frantically, constantly go, 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 go.
There's a lot of setup in this.
Literally, most of the movie is set up.
The one thing I really got from this movie is serial killers. They have to put a lot of work in.
Yeah,
Like,
these men,
it's effort.
these men bleed for their profession.
Good.
They put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears in what they do for a living.
But it's not even for a living, is it? It's just more for
It's a bit of hobby.
personal entertainment. It doesn't seem to be like for a living. But despite the bits of slowness here and there, it was pretty good. It was funny. I got an Ahab! Yay! And it was pretty enjoyable as far as serial killer movies go.
If we're calling it that, sure.
I mean, the first and foremost is the premise is a mockumentary. We're introduced to this
Yeah.
guy who's essentially walking to the footsteps of previous legends of slasher movies, and But the movie treats, you got to remember, the movie treats these characters as if they're real people.
Yes, this is not our world. This is a world where Freddy Krueger, Jason, Chucky, Mike Myers, they're all real people who are renowned killers in their world.
The production crew that are following around our buddy Leslie Vernon are anticipating his ascendance as the new kind of new age serial killer icon before it happens. Oh.
Oh boy. And Leslie Vernon, he's a special boy, isn't he? See,
I
and
think
serial killers also seem to have like some sort of fan club going on. Although that's not uncommon in reality, sadly.
I kind of find it was more interesting when he was talking and when he didn't have the mask on. Because like when the mask goes on Leslie towards the last third, fourth of the movie, things kind of fall into place and fall apart, kind of.
Yeah, that leads into, movie number 3, which is, unfortunately, has a bad ending, or a less interesting ending in this case, would say.
I mean, I guess this would be movie number 4, if anything else, for bad endings so far.
What's number 3?
Yes.
Oh, Alexa.
See, I disagree with that because I don't think it was that bad an ending. It sets up exactly what it was trying to do the entire time. It was trying to make him out to be the next Freddy Krueger, the next Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees. And that's what the last bit of the movie was. Actually that.
Yeah, but they dropped the comedy, and the comedy was just really good.
Yeah, but just because they dropped that doesn't mean it's bad. It just is fulfilling the part of the movie it was alluding to the entire time. I mean, yeah, sure, the first bit of the movie was funny, but the thing about serial killers is they do actually kill people.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, but-
they're not particularly funny.
but
That's
this
the
is a
thing about
pretend
almost
one, though.
dying, Katie. It's a bit of a downer.
Right.
Oh. Mm.
That's Shock Exorcist. We gotta watch that one night. Then no, we shouldn't do that.
No,
Do
absolutely
you
The
not.
thing about
have
black
enough
holes is they're
food?
black.
Oh God.
The mockumentary side of this, which is kind of like, what we do in the shadows, it's kind of like The Office, where it's the filming of a real situation. The characters are just goofy. Like, that's charming. That's interesting. That's fun. It's always an engaging setup, seeing, characters show their real sides.
It's a glimpse behind the veil.
Yes. And in this one, we
Behind
get.
the mask.
I don't get it.
Mhm.
And of course, in this one, we get introduced to our character, Leslie Vernon, who is aspiring to be the next big killer icon. And he's kind of a giddy little schoolgirl trying to set things up, isn't he? He's excited he gets an Ahab. We get explained what the trope of an Ahab is.
It's
Right.
basically his Dr. Loomis.
Yeah, a righteous individual who seeks his downfall, essentially for justified reasons.
He even looks like Dr. Loomis in the movie, the Ahab character.
So you're saying you're a whale,
I
Leslie?
got my own Ahab. Yay!
So happy for your son.
Oh yes, Robert Englund is in the movie. We should probably mention that.
Very
Liz.
briefly.
Plays the
Not-
role of Donald Pleasance. Technically.
No.
Yeah.
Pleasant was dead before this.
No, this is Dr. Loomis' character.
Yeah, I know.
So we kind of plug along until we get to the end, which is where things start going to pieces.
The documentary crew finally grows a conscience in the final fourth of the movie, if even that.
Yep.
And they try to prevent our protagonist from doing his I don't know, weekly, monthly, whatever routine of violently murdering.
Well, okay.
Teenage-
No,
Features.
he's not even a protagonist. He's simply the subject of the documentary.
Yes, everything revolves around him.
That's
He's
it.
chosen a girl. Remember, he's chosen a very specific girl that he antagonizes a few times through the movie. Plays head games with her, and she's kind of doubting herself. And we're kind of lulled into this. Oh, this is where the focus of the movie is going to land in the end. This is the terminus. This is the main thing it's going to land on. And so, yeah, as you said, our production crew grows a conscience. They become characters in their own right, and they try to stop this from happening.
And at that point, like, the documentary completely stops, and you almost feel like you're in a different movie.
It's a well set up horror movie at that point.
Well, the one thing with that is that was going to happen sort of all along, and it was alluded to with one line earlier in the film, towards with Leslie Vernon, his mentor, and one line mentioned towards if he has his red herring set up yet. The red herring was the person he was supposedly after all along. The real one that he had chose was the journalist who had been along for the ride the whole time.
Covering his story.
So that is how it kind of moves from the first part of the movie to that kind of end part.
Is that red herring comment actually in the movie? Because I missed that.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is.
It is.
Oh.
As is how Leslie is ultimately defeated. He mentions, oh god, it's some type of, is it a drill or something for grinding?
No, it's a press for pressing fruit. For
Okay.
basically making
Yeah, 'cause it
cider.
was like an apple orchard or whatever.
Yeah, it's for making apple cider.
And he mentions during the filming of the documentary, like, I have something very special planned for this. And they ask him what. It's like, oh, you're just going to have to wait and see. And that's ultimately how he is defeated in the movie. So, you're led to believe that this was part of his plan. Even his, own demise.
Yeah, he had everything figured out. As a matter of fact, he even said that Final Girl would follow him, and that was there for killing. It'll be perfect. Okay, so we have pretty much been over all the movies.
Yep.
What are everybody's preferences for favorite, least favorite out
come
of
on.
this lot?
Oh, come on. I think the four of us, like, for the first time in our whole votes, like, we all have the same picks, which are going to be the worst and the best one from this.
Well,
I
three of us
don't
definitely
think
have the
so
same pick
on
for
the
worst.
worst.
Oh, really?
I don't think
Um,
so on the best.
I do think
And
so on the best.
I think Kieran might be leaning towards the platform. Might. I don't know. Mine is Tucker and Dale for the best. Absolutely best. Tucker and Dale. I love Alan Tudyk. I love that movie. I love seeing snobby assholes who think they're superior to people from the country get, hurt themselves.
No relation whatsoever, right, Carol?
They hurt themselves. It's their own damn fault. They're being assholes.
First place right away, Tucker and Dale, easily. Excellent movie from beginning to end. Really good.
Joe?
I can't vote against Alan Tudyk. I like him too much. So clearly Tucker and Dale.
We got him by the balls, folks.
And Kieran.
I kind of like my dystopian stuff a lot.
See,
And I did think the platform was a really, really good movie.
It was.
I also do really like Tucker and Dale for different reasons, and I really do struggle to pick between the two. But I think I would go with the platform.
Okay. You don't have to agree with us.
No, I know.
One of us.
Yeah, Google gobble. I found that film. But yeah, when it comes to the worst, Enter the Apocalypse, just
Yeah.
of all
Worst
my
movie.
movies, that was the just straight up stinker.
For me, it was
Worst.
Cooties.
Oh!
I didn't like Cooties.
And in
What?
the Apocalypse for me as well. I hated the music. I couldn't stand it.
It would have been
Apocalypse.
better off with the one thing in it that was part of the reason I fucking chose it. Is the musical aspect. I picked it because, that'll be amusing. And it turned out the musical part of it was the worst. The actual story and some of the comedy in it was alright. It wouldn't necessarily have been great without it. But it's just...
The acting wasn't bad.
The acting was alright. Some of the comedic elements were fun. The singing might have been, good, but the music itself was garbage.
I just can't stand hearing people sound like a cat stuck on a manifold calling it singing. I can't stand that. These people can actually sing. There was talent there. The acting was decent. The Cooties just bored the hell out of me. I just didn't really like it. I couldn't get into it.
Cooties has an interesting premise because it's the kind of movie that you rarely ever see. Like Cooties, because of his bravery to actually display kids as villains in an adult movie, is kind of a shocking thing.
I like the science teacher. He amused me.
Yeah, he's a great character, that guy.